Sunday morning to you. Yes, baseball is in the front of our minds, but football is back.
Yeah.
Lions reporting for training camp today in Allen Park. The full squad there and already recording TV spots. Let's get it going. 10-6.
Promo, baby, promo.
Whoa.
Come on.
Get fired up.
Talk about the preseason right here.
This
on
is the
WXYZ. Yeah.
And that's the voice of Lions football on Channel 7.
So you'll be broadcasting the first ever professional game of Johnny Football. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Nice, Stoney.
Yes.
I didn't
You
realize
got
that.
some history.
I really, Johnny Manziel down here,
Yeah.
Lions up here
I
for
know.
me. But you're right, yeah.
Well, the introduction's kind of out of the way. That's Mike Stone, 97.1 The Ticket, every morning, Monday through Friday with Bill and Sarah. Matt Shepard, 11:30 The Fan, doing pregame today on Fox Sports Detroit for the Tigers. And yes, the
And
voice.
same time slot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Only you get to wake
Small-
up an hour later than I do.
And we're signal.
He's also the voice of Lions football. We're fired up here. A tough loss for the Tigers last night. Justin Verlander goes strong, but allows 3 runs.
It was okay.
Gets the loss, 4 innings. Yeah, strong,
Right.
decent, maybe at best. We're going to touch on the Tigers first. We're also going to have Jim Caldwell one-on-one
Nice.
at 11:30, getting ready for the
Was
preseason, training camp,
Was
everything.
Justin Verlander really strong? I mean, have we
No.
have we lowered our expectations? We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Have we lowered our expectations for him a little bit because
He's
of the
a
season
different
he's had?
pitcher. He is definitely a different pitcher. He's allowed 2 runs or more in every start this year.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
He's a different
and I
pitcher.
think right now we're like, oh my God, the offense isn't scoring. Yeah, it's not. But Justin Verlander, he made some mistakes again.
You need one of your guys. He's not the ace anymore, but still one of your strong guys. 3 runs is not good enough all the time.
Agreed, especially against Matt Shoemaker.
That's
Which
true.
surprised us.
He pitched great.
He really did.
He did.
Well, here's the thing.
Eastern Michigan.
The Tigers made Skaggs and Shoemaker
Right.
look like, Drysdale and Koufax, Maddox and Glavine.
Yeah.
I mean, they
and
did.
Look what they did against Garrett Richards.
Exactly.
So
That's baseball.
it's a weird game.
The Angels are a very good team.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They're likely going to find a way to work themselves into that playoff picture. It looks
Trout
like
hasn't done anything really this series either.
Against Detroit all year.
Right.
Really.
Rick
I think he's
Porcello
got
goes
one hit, I
today.
think.
He had a rough outing against LA last time out, but he's been solid
in his,
of late.
in his career, he's had
Right.
terrible numbers against the Angels.
We've been talking all season and on Sundays here about the bullpen. They finally go out. Dombrowski makes the move to get Joakim Soria this week. They gave up 2 prospects within that organization, but we've talked about it too. The time now is to win. The time is now to win.
And I'm
Fine with
sick
it?
of the whole prospect stuff. I mean, how many prospects has Dombrowski given up that have come back and really been really
Well,
really
Andrew
good,
Miller's pretty good.
Good major league
Cameron
players.
Maben got a long contract, but you're right. For the most part,
No.
nobody. Here's the thing. Prospects are used in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
For young teams, maybe 2002 Tigers, this might have been a mistake. But for young teams, yeah, they are the future. For established teams, they are bordering chips.
Yes,
You want to
absolutely.
use those to improve your club as long as it doesn't deplete your entire organization. I don't think Dave Dombrowski did that at
No,
all.
neither did I.
Is this enough? Is that enough for you if this is the only move he makes before the deadline or even before the postseason and the non-waiver deadline?
I'd still like to see another left-handed arm in the bullpen. I'm not a, Coke and Kroll. Their work speaks for themselves for the most part. Coke has been better, except for the other
You want
night.
Bastardo.
I'd like Bastardo. I don't know what you're gonna have to give up to get him, but they really.
Doesn't matter. You just said it.
Yeah, that's true. But they also need. I don't know if it's going to be Dirks or whatever. They need a left-handed
stick.
bat, whether it's off the bench or not. They really do.
I'd rather see that. I envision Drew Smiley going back to the pen.
Correct.
I don't know if you guys do as
Yes,
well.
absolutely.
I think that fixes your left-handed situation. We're talking strictly postseason here, not
Right.
regular season.
Right, which is what matters with this team because they're going to make it.
Right, and,
Yes.
and he moves back. I think that fixes your left-handed situation. You're going to use Phil Koch and Ian Kroll in different situations now that you have Joakim Soria. I don't think they'll be called upon to pitch to as many batters in as many different situations as they are right now. So I could live with the Joakim Soria acquisition only, but I would like some reassurance coming off the bench with a left-handed
Do
stick.
you think though that Coke and Kroll postseason, you're confident enough that like in a situation where they can get the 1 or 2 guys that they have to get out?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
That's a great point about Smiley moving to the
Well, yeah.
to the bullpen
Fixes
it's
that
true.
left
It's
hand.
what's going to happen. I know fan opinions. Yes, they're there. They're loud. It's what you guys hear and talk and discuss with all day, every day. Is that enough for fans?
No.
You think now?
No,
it's not nearly
If
enough.
you listen to fans, they need a catcher.
Well, if you listen to fans, they need a center fielder, a catcher, a starting pitcher, and another reliever.
And an elite shortstop.
Yeah, and an elite shortstop or somebody on the left side. So I don't know if you're ever going to please them. I mean, I've had people, tweet and text me about getting rid of certain starters on this club to bring in somebody else who they just fantasize about, and it's never going to happen. We've always dealt with things like that.
Look, should they get another position player? Is Suarez going to be good enough? Do you want your left side of the infield to be 2 rookies going in the postseason? Who knows? Is Jimmy Rollins available? Is he worth an upgrade over Suarez? I don't know.
240 hitter. That's
I
252 in his career in the playoffs.
Look, I don't want.
You think Boston's happy about that right now? Hey, by the way, the Yankees. It's not the same guy, so don't take this literally. Yankees won the '96 World Series with a rookie shortstop too. I'm not saying Suarez is Derek Jeter.
That? Oh yeah.
I'm not saying Suarez is Derek Jeter. I'm saying the guy's got some offensive punch. I don't necessarily trust him defensively, but if they're good enough to get this team to where they are right now, does it really matter? I mean, why do we think that the postseason will suddenly overtake them and they will succumb to the pressure?
It's not even this pressure. It's can they get guys who are better? That's the question. And the catcher thing is really a tough situation.
It's bizarre.
Avila is a very good defensive player. And when you look at his on-base percentage, it's pretty much middle of the pack of catchers. He's not horrible. Right. He's going through a stage right now where he cannot hit lefties. And I think Osmus is making a mistake when he does not sit him against lefties. However, if you're one of these sabermetricians, Brian Holiday's numbers against lefties absolutely are worse than Alex Avila's. Smaller sample size, I understand, but he's hit like 191 against lefties. But Avila, basically striking out against lefties, it's almost 1 out of 2
But here's what we're missing.
bats.
Here's what we're missing. The comfort level of the pitching staff.
Right, that's why I said defensively.
Okay? The comfort, no, it's not just defensively. It's calling a game. Watch games and see how often veteran pitchers, Justin Verlander last night, Max Scherzer, who demands a great deal out of his catchers. Joe Nathan has told me this the same thing. They don't like shaking off catchers. They want to be on the same page. They demand a lot out of that guy, and they feel like if they have to shake that guy off, then it gives an advantage to the batter. Rarely are you seeing them shake them off. Now, I know the 220, 219 batting average isn't nearly what people want.
No.
I don't want it either.
No.
But guess what? Sometimes there have to be sacrifices.
Well, you can't have an all-star at every
staff.
position. I understand. And the fact that he does such a good job, for the most part, of blocking balls gives those pitchers confidence to throw those balls.
Throwing runners out, dude.
Yes, I know.
Weigh in on your solutions for the Tigers, what they can do before the July 31st deadline, and maybe even going forward, what they do with the Holiday Avila situation. Use the hashtag 7SportsCave. Tweet us. We're going to be bringing up those tweets on the show next. Let's swing over to the Lions, though, if we can get there, because they are all reporting their videos leaking out of them getting so pumped up with promo videos. Training camp starts tomorrow. Biggest storyline for me is still Ndamukong Suh. Is it still for you too?
No, the storyline for me is how Matthew Stafford and the offense is going to work under a new offensive coordinator. Because if we believe that Joe Lombardi is as good as some people think he is, this offense is going to be unfreaking believable. But that is a huge if. This is we're quarterback obsessed in this town, but I think this season we have a right to be. This is Matthew Stafford's 6th season. He's had a few, did not play a lot because of the injuries. This is now, he's got all the tools. He's got a new offensive coordinator. He's got the tight end, Ebron. Everybody says it's so good. You know about Calvin. You gave him Golden Tate. Right. It's all on him. No excuses anymore. This is the year where Matthew Stafford has to.
First of all, he's never made it.
I'm not talking about him. Okay. I'm not talking about for the organization and everything else. There's no excuses. This is the year where he has to propel himself from just
take that next step,
average to above average quarterback.
I would agree with that.
Really
I think the other storyline for me, anyways, and what you both bring up are excellent, and they're in there. But Darius Slay might be, dare I say, the most important player on this club, because Rasheed Mathis is a little bit older. He wins with his instincts. Darius Slay will have to win with not just his instincts, but more because of his skill.
His speed.
He, to me, is the answer defensively for this club on why they can compete or not compete, because I think we have a pretty good gauge on Bill Bentley, on Jonte Green, on Chris Greenwood, on Cassius Vaughn. Darius Slay must be that guy in that secondary.
They have invested in the guys that they have in that secondary, from Bentley, from
and
Slay.
I give them that,
They are putting a lot of chips on Darius Slay right now, and if he needs to be the guy for this secondary succeed, because it hasn't done so in this resume.
And also because they didn't go after anybody in the secondary until the 4th round. So he's putting a lot of faith on what he brought elsewhere earlier. And it's Slay, it's Bentley, and those guys.
Right. Look, we've talked about this before. It is the second most difficult position to transition from college to pro. You must be patient with those players. Nobody is patient with anybody any longer. Everybody wants their rookies to be Mike Trout, and it just doesn't happen. Everybody wants their closer to be Mariano Rivera. It just doesn't happen. everybody wants Darius Slay to be Richard Sherman. It's not very common. Dean Milner, everybody wanted for the Jets 2 years ago. He hasn't been very good or wasn't very good as a rookie. You got to be patient with certain guys.
We're just getting started talking about Slay, talking about what's to come for this team because, oh, guess what? For the next 2 months, we're going to be talking all about these storylines. And on the show later, we're going to have Jim Caldwell one-on-one as the head coach gets set for his first training camp as Lions head man, head boss, the key man in charge. Coming up after the break, the most talented 10-year-old football player in the country has a ponytail, and she spent the week in Ann Arbor at U of M's football camp. Watch
her go.
Run circles around the boys. And play catch with Devin Gardner. That's next when we return.
The Suburban Ford 7 Sports Game is brought to you in part by Figer Law.
The music you hear in the background is Waiting on the Next Game, a new Tiger fan song brought to you by Dean and the Dean. Exclusive on the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Game. Welcome back.
Has to be.
Has to be. Drinking champagne. Could happen by the end of October. Bring it back up here, Rob. Hi, guys. Here we are. Those are the standings. We're jamming here with our...
Ooh.
Dance, Stoney. Go, baby.
Full song will be on WXYZ.com
Jam it or
tomorrow.
slam it.
I'm going to tell you something, man. Anybody who's got rhythm, this man right here. He's got rhythm.
Well, he's learned from his buddy Bruce.
Oh, yeah, sure.
There's rhythm. You're right.
It's not a rhythm.
It's something.
Oh, boy.
Mike Foss has rhythm. Last week
Really?
was his birthday. This week he's hanging out in the control room, always monitoring what people are saying on Twitter. And there's a lot of Tiger chatter. I'm seeing some trade talk on here, Mike. What are you seeing, bud?
Yeah, definitely fans throwing out some trade ideas, proposals, theories. You know, we got a few days left before the trade deadline. We'll take a look at what some of the people are saying. We got that. We got some Lions thoughts, too. But first, we'll start with some of the Lions thoughts. Daniel says, Mike Martin schooled Sue, rather have someone with heart instead of rep. Freddie says he's pulling hard for Jim Caldwell. Again, we'll hear from him later in the show. Is hoping to one day lift a Lombardi by building respect and discipline and washing away the Schwartz era. And then one of those trade proposals comes from Rocky. He says Suarez, a.k.a. the one-week wonder, should be replaced by Rollins. Go all in for the World Series. Also, another lefty reliever is needed. Guys?
Problem with Rollins is he has a no trade, and I don't know if he wants to come here either.
I think he would come here. Suarez is more than just a week.
Yes.
More than a week, but
But listen, he's come back down to earth. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a rookie. I understand the concern. There's no doubt about it. You want Mike Martin? I'll take Ndamukong Suh. I like Mike Martin at Catholic Central.
Can't just go
I
by
thought
what
he was
happened
a
at
really
the-
good player at the University of Michigan. You want to get caught up on a reality TV show?
Right,
Go right
thank
ahead.
you.
I want great players, and Ndamukong Suh is considered a top 3 defensive tackle by just about everybody. I've not seen Mike Martin in the top 15 yet.
it's interesting that we talked about the young left side of the infield briefly.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much mention of Suarez. I think in some way we knew what Nick Castellanos was going to bring this season. I think people had an expectation
I
that
think,
he wasn't
he's been better than a lot of people
Right,
thought.
and I agree. So you have this young infield, but he's exceeded expectations, or maybe met what people were really hoping for.
Yeah.
And Suarez, I think, when he came up and replaced what Romine was doing, you're getting more than what you expected out of two guys there. Is it enough though to go on and contend? And yeah, you brought up the mention of the Yankees in '96, but is that enough?
It's enough to contend. The question is it enough to win it all? And
Let-
once
let-
you get in there,
Who's the best
who
team in
knows?
baseball?
Best team in baseball is
Oakland?
probably the Oakland A's right now.
You know who their second baseman is?
Is it Lowry these days?
Eric Sogard.
Yeah, he can't
He's batting
hit.
202.
Yeah, he can't hit.
Okay.
Like every
Now,
team has
it's
a guy
little,
like
yeah,
that.
it's a little different. I know their starting pitching is very good, and I know their bullpen is better than Detroit's. But I'm telling you, man, I mean, this kid, I'm a little concerned with him defensively. I like his approach at the plate. I'm not saying it's the reason that, they're going to win, but I don't know if it's necessarily the reason they can't win it all either.
No, that I agree with you.
How about this one here? Let's fantasize, Detroit podcast. Trade Justin Verlander for David Price and pull the trigger. Soria should be the closer ASAP.
Okay.
We need bolder ideas.
Why would Tampa
Right,
do that?
thank you. Well, Tampa, they can't get 20,000 people to their games. They're going to take Verlander and his salary. Now, granted, the Tigers would have to pay some. Yeah, of course the Tigers would do that. Tampa's not doing that.
I mean, David Price is younger.
Yeah.
Right now, people would argue
And
he's
he's
better,
a
and
lefty.
he makes less money.
And he's a lefty.
Okay?
It makes perfect sense.
Yes, we'll do that. Good idea.
And just so people, Joakim Soria, really good with Kansas City, really good. Before Detroit got him too, but last night, I mean, there was a little bit of a hiccup. It's going to happen.
Well,
and he may be this closer. Who knows? But
it's almost all of a sudden that you come to the Tigers bullpen and everything falls apart. You know what disappointed me a little bit about last night from him? It's one game. He really didn't have much velocity. Everything was like 91, 90. I thought he was going to throw harder, but it's one game. It's one game.
You know what? Everybody throws in the 90s. It's not how
Right.
fast you throw.
I
It's
know.
your location and the off speed and how you keep guys off balance. He'll be fine, and so will everybody else in that
A
bullpen, I
one-game
think.
sample.
Yeah.
Well, as an 8-year-old, Sam Gordon ran circles around her Salt Lake City Football League. We've seen the video. When her dad uploaded her season highlights about 2 years ago, over 5 million views in 1 week.
Wow.
Since then, she's been on Good Morning America, went to Super Bowl 47 as a guest of Roger Goodell, and was even on the Wheaties box. This week, she spent time at Michigan's football camp and put her talent on display.
I'm going to football camp at the University of Michigan. One of the first things we did at camp was play tug war. It was raining and it was really muddy that day. It was fun. Today we ran the 40-yard dash. The rumor going around camp was that I ran it in 4.9 seconds. I'm not that fast. When Coach Hoke was in charge of the drills, I wanted to impress him, so I ran my hardest. I jumped over the hurdles, ran around the ring, went through the cones, and I went so fast that I caught up to the guy in front of me. At camp, we played touch football. One team would be shirts, and one team would be skins. We were supposed to be skins, but my teammates reminded my coaches that I needed to wear a shirt. I thought it was really cool when I got to meet quarterback Devin Gardner. He even asked to join our game. He made a perfect pass to me when I was all alone and I dropped it. I definitely need to spend more time with the receivers. I had a ton of fun, made a lot of friends, and learned a lot more about football.
She does. She's pretty darn good, man. She's got game.
She can move, man.
Yeah, but can she beat State?
That's all that matters, man.
Exactly.
Which state?
Or Notre Dame. Or Ohio State. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about college football coming up here as we move over to the bar. Mike, can you get the jams going? No? We'll get there. All right,
Okay.
cool. Let's move on over. No, they don't want
There
it.
we go.
There it
There we
is,
go.
baby. Waiting on the next game from Dean and the Dean, a new Tigers anthem, maybe.
Men with stronger minds.
Kevin just tweeted, "Where's the wing stuff?" Here you go, bud. It's right here. Check it
There
out.
were titles.
We're talking wings. Tigers, it's all coming up next. So we got a gift coming.
Ooh. Got great memories and the
The Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave is powered by Suburban Ford of Sterling Heights, Michigan's largest dealer. Visit us at saveoncars.net.
Welcome back. Fast 5 Minutes presented by Parts Galore. Matt Shepard, Mike Stone, Brad Galli inside the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. Before we get into things here, we're always asking you to send us gear. And we got a gift in the mail this week.
Oh, nice. Do you know what it is? Or are you just
I do.
the first time?
I literally haven't opened it. A jersey from Mary Grove College.
Oh,
So we got to add that to the wall. They said, hey, we saw Madonna. We've seen Oakland. We've got U of D in here. So
Sure.
Mary Grove added to the collection. We're going to put that in the
Good
cave.
for them. Yeah.
Put it on the bar. If you've got a jersey or a pennant or a poster or anything of your favorite high school team, send it in. Email us at sports@WXYZ.com. Wayne State, where are you? Let's go. Let's make it happen. Enjoy Bell
Well,
jersey.
Tom will be out there Wednesday. He should pick up some stuff.
He will be. I will be too. Training camp show Wednesday afternoon. Well, let's get into it here. Fast 5 minutes. Red Wings offseason not exactly decorated with great fanfare. If they're done, if this is it, what's the realistic expectation for this team?
they'll battle for the last playoff spot or seventh, just like they did last year, because hopefully Datsuk and Zetterberg will be healthy. They obviously still need a right-handed shooting defenseman. Hopefully Sproul will be that guy. They'll bring up those guys from Grand Rapids, and they'll be good. Look, Babcock, no matter what some people think of him, his personality is still a really good coach. And if Jimmy Howard can rebound from, by his own admissions, a subpar season, they'll be right there as far as a playoff team. Are they good enough to win the Stanley Cup? Probably not, but who knows what happens at the deadline, and in hockey more than any other sport, once you're in, you got a chance. But the offseason was hard.
I don't know if it's Ryan Sproul. I don't know if it's Alexei Marchenko. It could be Mike Green. I'd love to see him come over here from Washington. I think Detroit, when healthy, they can be middle of the pack in the East. This is not the Western Conference where it is so overloaded with talent where everybody's scared. I think Detroit can be a factor in the East. Is Boston better? Is Pittsburgh better? No question about it. Tampa made some nice moves, too. Detroit didn't do exactly what I thought they would in the offseason, but I do think with everybody healthy, they're much better than people would give them credit for.
It'll be interesting to see because that bar has been so high here for so long. USA Today put out a list of college football trap games for Michigan and Michigan State. Both listed as Indiana, a trap game for both teams. You buying that?
Yeah, I'm buying it just because Indiana's a really good offensive club, and teams have a tendency. We're talking about 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. When you're getting ready for a team that's ahead of you, a Michigan or a Michigan State, then you're bound to look forward to that game. If you've just played them, you're bound to have a little bit of a letdown. That is human nature, but especially for late teenagers and early 20-year-olds, Indiana's the kind of team that always goes into the big house or always goes into Spartan Stadium playing like we've got nothing to lose. And because of their offense a year ago, I can definitely see that as a trap game.
Indiana, yes, a trap game for both. I'll definitely say it's more for Michigan State. But for Michigan, how's this one out of the box? At Rutgers. It's sandwiched between Minnesota and Penn State. Penn State, the big night game and all that kind of stuff. Rutgers, they go back to New Jersey. Peppers' his hometown. There's going to be a lot of fanfare. It's their first year in the Big Ten. People say, Rutgers is no good. They're not really that good. That's why it could be a trap game, because they open their Big Ten season the week before, then they have Penn State after that. They'll win the game, but it might not be as easy as some think.
Also a bad stadium.
Awful.
Really bad stadium.
They should play that game at the Meadowlands.
I agree with you.
That would be
I
fantastic.
broadcast last
football
year
game.
that stadium is bad.
USC football, always looking to one-up everybody else. This week on their website, posting things that fans and season ticket holders could buy. Pictures with cheerleaders, fine. But running out of the tunnel and other experiences on game day that are really set aside for players. How far is too far when these teams are selling experiences?
I think that's over the top. There's something about running onto the field as a player. Look, I've never been a player, but I can imagine everybody's pumped up, all that kind of stuff. To let some booster, let some fan who paid for it do it, and I think that's a bad idea. Are you listening, David Brandon? Don't do this at Michigan. It'll raise a hell of a lot of money, but I think it's lame. You don't need other people, sponsors, touching the Go Blue banner. So no, I think it's a bad idea at USC.
I think it's shameful. I really do. I mean, these people go out there and they support this team in so many different ways, and now you're going to charge them to run out of a tunnel. If you're buying advertisements in the arena, in the stadium, you're buying them somewhere along the concourse, I get it, but you're going to suddenly hold people captive. If you want to run out of this tunnel for that type of experience, you're going to charge them money. Shame on Pat Hayden, shame on USC.
Next thing you know, they'll want fireworks there.
That's a good idea. Wait a minute.
It's not like they haven't had fireworks at Michigan Stadium before.
I know.
Hello,
Big deal.
Winter Classic.
Yeah.
Right. After every touchdown?
I mean, come on.
Well, if you're tired of the old backwards hat comments coming around the NFL,
There we go.
Colin Cowherd, ESPN radio personality,
Yeah.
kept it going.
Jack
Posted
Wagon.
a picture of Johnny Manziel at a press conference yesterday after practice, full of sweat, and said,
You look good.
"Thank you, I know." It's no coincidence that HOF also stands for hat on forward. How tired are you?
I'm
of
so
all
sick
this?
and tired of this crap, and I think a lot of it has to do with us here in Detroit with Matt Stafford looking at it. Nobody says anything about Colin Kaepernick. Nobody says anything about Ben Roethlisberger. I know Ken Griffey Jr. got some ragging back in the day, but it quickly went aside. The bottom line is if you win, it doesn't really matter. Do I want my quarterback wearing his hat backwards? Not necessarily. Is it the worst thing that's ever happened, considering a lot of the things that have taken place in the NFL off the field and on the field, and some of the disparity that has taken place from the front office, the administration, the NFL officers down the field? Heck no. Get over it and lose it, for crying out loud. How about focusing on Fernando Rodney and a guy, like CeCe Sabathia? Where's Colin Cowherd in that blowhard of his? At that point, you don't hear it. You hear only about quarterbacks.
Well, it's football and it's quarterbacks. It's all about perception. When you see Tom Brady, Drew Brees, all these guys who've won Super Bowls after games, they look all pristine. Sometimes Matthew Stafford, for whatever reason, first guy interviewed, he doesn't shower and all that stuff, looks kind of unkempt. People don't like that. You know what? If they won, people wouldn't care.
They wouldn't.
It's not his fault. They bring him out right
The
away.
athletes in the front of this whole discussion right now grew up in my generation. We watched Ken Griffey Jr. backwards hat, win the home run derby, and made it look cool. Guess what? Everyone's just trying to be like their heroes, and sorry for an older generation that doesn't get it.
People felt that way about headbands, and they felt it also
Longer
about
shorts.
dreadlocks, too.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Cliff Lee trying to make farting cool.
He did.
Post-game press conference this week,
Yes.
his first start back since being on the DL forever with the Phillies. Literally farted at the end of his press conference. What's the best post-game story you've got, Stoney?
Oh, there's a few, but I'm going to
Keep it
go.
clean, Stoney.
I'm going to go 2004 after the Pistons won the championship. In the locker room, doing interviews. Kid Rock is there, and so I asked him his feelings. He thought that I was part of a TV camera, and the light was in his eyes. He goes, "Yo, dude, can't you see I'm just trying to get a little something after the game?" He was trying to hit on some woman. He didn't want anything to do with me. That was my post-game moment.
I remember after the Lions fired Wayne Fonts, a reporter and a friend of all of ours asked a question, and William Clay Ford Sr. said, "I think I just answered that." And that reporter said, "Well, I'm sorry, I was stepped out for a moment." And the owner said, "Well, welcome back." I mean, it got a really good chuckle from everybody in the press conference, and it really made members of the media a little uncomfortable, especially the guy who asked the question, but it's one of the funnier ones that I've seen.
What if he had to step out just to Cliff Lee?
He might have, and that would have been very courteous of him.
Exactly.
At least Cliff Lee, by the way, looked around before he let go.
That was great. If you haven't seen it, look at me. I did tweet it. All right, hey, we're going to break, but let's go to break in style. Backwards. Fire up Chips. Let's go. Jim Caldwell getting set for his first day of training camp as Lions head coach. He goes one-on-one with David Solano after the break.
Put your head on
Gamble
forward.
fever.
You have an alternate jersey?
The Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave kicking off your Sunday morning. Brad Galli here with Matt Shepard,
Sorry, trying to tweet.
Mike
at the
Stone,
phone.
tweeting.
Yeah.
Tweet. Jim Caldwell this week honored as the first African-American head coach of the Detroit Lions by the Detroit Historical Committee downtown. Our very own David Solano emceed the event, a special night as everyone paying tribute to the first African-American head coach in Detroit Lions history. The two sat down to talk about the event, but also to get a little taste of what Jim was feeling ahead of Lions training camp.
Well, Coach, getting ready for training camp. Before we talk about you obviously being honored at the Detroit Historical Museum, I just want to talk to you a little bit about your excitement as you get ready for your first training camp for a season with the Lions.
Yeah, it's really an exciting time. We've had an opportunity to have about probably maybe a quarter of our squad in earlier in the week. We had the rookies, we had some injured vets, and our quarterbacks were in. So we have an opportunity to try to kind of get them up to speed, see what they've forgotten, try to get them back on track, all those kinds of things. They retained a lot. Our practices were sharp and crisp. I think our young guys that are going to be knowledgeable enough to get in position, those that are capable of helping us. So it's a lot of fun. It was really exciting, and got a chance to get the rest of the guys to come on in here on Sunday and get after it on Monday. So it's going to be fun.
The enormous expectations, Coach, from the fans. How do you deal with that pressure?
Well, you know, their expectations can't be any higher than mine. You know, they really can't. You know, ours is to win and win now, and I think every single one of the guys on our team feels the exact same way. So there's no sense in walking into this thing soft-shoeing it. You know, we come in and we mean business, and we're trying to get focused and do all the necessary things to get it done.
A lot of people in the Motor City well aware of you being the first African-American head coach in Lions history, Coach. I know that means a lot to you, but to be honored by the Detroit Historical Museum for that accomplishment, as well as your other things you've done in your career, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's quite an honor, you know, without question. Detroit is an amazing city. It's a city of firsts in so many different aspects, and certainly within the African-American community as well. To be welcomed in and also recognized by this great organization is exceptional. So I'm pleased, I'm humbled, I'm honored, particularly when you look at, you know, a number of people that have, I think it's only been 4 years, I believe, that they've begun to induct individuals into this particular portion of the society. And, you know, there's some very, very notable individuals that have done some great things.
Coach, what does it mean to you, too, to be one of the pioneers who's been instrumental in diversity in the NFL, to know that you're part of making that process happen, Coach, must be very uplifting for you?
Well, you know, it's interesting, and receiving an award like this, oftentimes you begin to reflect upon those times. Then I didn't realize, first of all, the first thing that happens, you realize, you know what, I've been around a little while. Because when I first started coaching in 1978, there were no African-American head football coaches in the Division I in college, nor were there any in professional ranks. And, you know, Fritz Pollard, I think, did it back in 1921 or 22, somewhere around there. But in modern times, in my lifetime, early up until that point, you know, I had not known, you know, any in those particular positions. So when I started coaching, you know, I had to look to some of our icons in historically black institutions, Eddie Robinson,
Sure.
Jake Gaither, you know, those individuals that did a tremendous job just in terms of paving the way for a number of us. And then, you know, the next year, Willie Jeffries got the head job at Wichita State, and he just so happened to be in our conference, in the Missouri Valley Conference. So I got an opportunity to see him go through it up close and personal.
And how has the adjustment been in the Motor City for you and your family so far?
You know, it's been a lot of fun. My wife and I have certainly enjoyed it. The city has really welcomed us with open arms. It's been an exciting time. We can see the thrill of the fans at every place we go. They're excited about the start of the season, and it's here now. So I know it's going to carry over into our stadium.
And lastly, speaking of the start of the season, he doesn't get any better than Monday Night Football against the Giants, Coach. I know that's one circled on the calendar, obviously.
Doesn't get any better than that, you know. I mean, it's a great time. It'll be a great opportunity for our team to show what they can do against a very, very tough and difficult team that plays extremely well with a great quarterback, a great coach, great organization. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Best of luck this season.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Jim. Lions training camp live. This will be this Wednesday coming up. Pretty fired up. More of that.
Open
Just a
practice
first look.
at Wayne
Open
State,
practice
right?
at Wayne
Yeah.
State. It will be happening 7:30 Wednesday right here on Channel 7. The biggest thing lingering over the Jim Caldwell tenure that has just begun, Ndamukong Suh's contract. I mean, this thing, yeah, it's a storyline and it's not exactly football, but say what you will, it handcuffed them this offseason, and it's going to do the same if they don't get something done.
I think they've handcuffed him still.
Oh, yeah,
Right
absolutely.
now.
You know what's funny? People say, well, how come Scherzer doesn't get enough grief and Sue, he's doing the same thing Sue is? There's a difference.
Mike Babcock, too.
But there's no salary cap in
Right.
baseball. And the Lions, if Sue would have taken care of this, or the Lions could have gotten this taken care of, there could have been a little more money. They could have done a few things. They would have known what's ahead.
I'm not sure that's it. I think it's us feeling like we're not worthy or they don't want us. I think that's what a lot of fans feel.
For
you don't
both
want
of
to be
it.
here, then bolt. You know, I mean, we had an earlier text or tweet earlier today that Mike Foss read. Somebody's like, I'll take Mike Martin over
No, you
Ndamukong
won't.
Suh. No, you won't.
No.
I wonder if Ndamukong Suh's camp truly appreciates the angst that he's creating with this extended negotiations or lack thereof progress. And it could be an issue for him in this town.
Well, what I think is amusing is he was talking about it yesterday. Somebody caught up with him, and he said, it's my ages. I'm ready to focus on
Baloney.
football. Okay, yeah, you
Baloney.
are focusing on football. But it's not just your agents. Your agents work for you. Right. I mean, so all that stuff is just mumbo jumbo.
All right, so who's it on? Is it on him and his camp, or is it on the Lions front office? Because I'll guarantee you, Tom Lewan and Martin Mayhew, primarily Tom Lewan, who's done a wonderful job of getting contracts done, this has been a priority for him,
Yes.
and he's worked really hard at trying to
said
get
it
it done.
was.
It takes two parties to negotiate this thing.
If he does not sign here, I don't think, and look, I criticize the Lions plenty, I don't think it's the Lions' fault. I think they want him here, maybe too much, if you ask me, because I don't think you can pay that position that much money that he's going to get. Yeah, they can franchise him at the end of the year. I thought, and people say I'm crazy, it could be, that they should have done and at least looked into trading him before the draft, doing something, because I'm convinced that he does not want to be here, and even if he can get more money here, he's going to leave.
That's
That
why
cap
I
hit is
wanted Aaron
brutal
Donald in
this
the
year.
draft.
That cap hit is brutal this year.
Right.
Well, it'll be
It
even
hurts
more
them.
brutal next year if you
Right.
got a franchise
Franchise
at
at
26.7
$26 million, yeah.
I don't know. I personally think it's going to hang over them until it gets done, or until he finally says,
He's
which I think
going to be great this year. I'm convinced
He
of
will
that.
be.
He will be amazing.
a win-win. But he's going to come out and
Well,
say
look,
at some point, he's going to come out and say, I'm not talking about this. We're not negotiating through the season.
And his
which is what
teammates are
everybody
going
does.
to get sick and tired of it too.
Right.
He's not going to be great just because
No, but
it's a contract year. He's been pretty damn good overall. So I think too many people are getting caught up in, well, it's a contract year for him. He wants to get paid. He's going to get paid no matter what next year. Somebody's going to pay this guy a lot of money.
Correct.
And by the way, Gerald McCoy's going to make a lot of money. Vlade Nada makes a lot of money. You got guys in Cincinnati and other places who are Justin Smith
Geno
in San
Atkins,
Francisco,
yeah.
Geno Atkins in Cincinnati. They're making a lot of money. Not the same money as Sue is, But there are other people who have invested in that position, unlike what we think Detroit should do.
Right.
Does a deal get done with Ndamukong Suh and the Lions? Send us a tweet, #7SportsCave. We're going to put those tweets on TV in just a little bit. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about Ray Rice, his suspension from the NFL, just 2 games. Was it enough? You'll hear from us after that.
The Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave is brought to you in part by Figer Law.
Thursday, the NFL handed down a 2-game suspension to Ray Rice for knocking his...
Can I slap your wrist?
You can.
okay.
Because that's essentially what it was.
Exactly.
Knocking down his
Wasn't
wife
even that.
unconscious, dragging her body into an elevator. It was graphic. It was caught on video, seen all around the football world. And around the football world, mainly surprise. 5-game, full season suspensions for drug use.
Right.
And then domestic abuse gets 2 games.
Brad, and Ndamukong Suh, for the stomp on Evan Dietrich Smith against Green Bay, received the same amount of punishment. Golston had a hit. Harrison had a hit a year ago or 2 years ago, helmet to helmet, received at least 1 game. So that's in half. Domestic violence is a serious issue in this country. The NFL, what Roger Goodell did, and I don't think he'll ever live this down, did a great disservice. And considering the NFL does what it does with, supporting, breast cancer
the
and the fight for it in
Pink Out the Game
October and Pink
yeah.
I think he's lost a great deal of credibility, not just with his players, but fans and women as a whole. I thought what he did was awful.
It was terrible. Now, maybe I'm trying to figure out what he's thinking. Maybe he's thinking, I went overboard with Bountygate. I need to cut things down a little bit. I think he was
at this expense.
it makes no sense to me. I think he was pressured by Rice's wife, who basically begged and said he's a changed man and all that kind of stuff. Look, Ray Rice had no previous track record, very great in the community, anti-bullying stuff, all that stuff. I don't care. You did that. We saw the dragging part. Now, we have not seen, did he punch her and all that kind of stuff?
Does it matter?
I don't think it
She's
matters.
unconscious?
I personally...
What would have been wrong with Roger Goodell saying, I'm giving you half a year, he appeals, and it goes down to 6 or 5 games? At least the statement by the NFL is made. Where he's lost is he's lost by offering the 2-game suspension. Go deep. If it's cut back, then at least you save a little face for your
You've set a standard now for this that's just 2 games.
Because Roger Goodell always likes to talk about the shield of the NFL. I'm the new sheriff in town. I'm a Goodell man. I crack the whip. I lay down the law. And you come up with this?
Right.
And you're right. You
really dropped the ball.
Who knows what's going to happen? There's talks about women's groups protesting games and things like that. And it's horrible.
He's dropped the ball on this. He dropped the ball on Irsay. He's made a lot of faux pas lately.
That's a great point. Jim Irsay should have been suspended already.
No doubt.
You look at the NFL, and he talks about the shield and representing that. When you go to a football game, it's not a bunch of guys. There are women there that fill out half those stands.
Yeah.
If you go to a bar to watch a game, there are half that. There's
selling
half that
pink
bar.
jerseys.
Yes, you are.
You are. There's a lot of women wearing pink jerseys.
This is not
with
just a
various names on
league
the back.
that's represented and adored by just men.
Right.
Definitely dropped the ball.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
No question. It's appalling to me. It really is.
When you look at that issue, other issues that come around the league, this is always the place to talk about them on the 7 Sports Cave. If you have a thought about Ray Rice and what happened, share your thoughts. Use the hashtag 7 Sports Cave and tweet at us. We're bringing up our tweets next on TV.
I still can't believe that I remember the press conference that they had in Baltimore. She asking for forgiveness of him. I mean, come on. Seriously.
Well, that's, what?
That's a PR stunt is what that is.
Well, that's also a syndrome of a lot of women who are beaten.
Which is true.
Okay? So, look, she should, I don't care what the circumstance is, okay? And I talked about this on my show the other day. You're a guy, you're Ray Rice. He's not a tall guy, but he's a thick, strong guy, squats over 500 pounds, all that stuff. There's a lot of different ways you can handle that. You're in the elevator, you get slapped, press the button on the next floor, call security, grab her from behind and hug her, hold her hands down. Anything but striking her. There's no place, I'm sorry, there's no place in our society for men like that to strike a woman or a child. As far as I'm concerned, I got no time for it. Does he deserve a second chance? Yes, but he needs to pay a price.
2 games is a joke.
14 games this season. Ravens fans will cheer and revere him. He sits on the sideline.
And his fine is based on last year's salary, not this year's salary, so he gets away with paying less money for that, too.
The NFL dropped the ball on that.
The Ravens are upset because he's missing 2 key games, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh.
Oh. And they even said, and Ray Rice said, well, we're not going to appeal. Can you imagine if they appeal?
You shouldn't appeal.
Of course not.
You should write him a thank you letter and take him out to dinner.
Exactly.
We're going to keep this conversation going.
In
Tigers,
Atlantic City.
Lions, whatever you want to talk about, that's coming up next on the other side of the break. You're watching the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave.
The Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave is powered by Suburban Ford of Sterling Heights, Michigan's largest dealer. Visit us at SaveOnCars.net.
Hey, welcome back. Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. We're getting things cooking here. We're taking tweets live, and in the break, Mike Foster's in the control room, goes in my ear. You brought up Ndamukong Suh. Guess what all the tweets are about?
Right.
Mike, the answer is?
Yeah, a lot of tweets about Ndamukong Suh and not a lot of optimism to go with them. It's pretty much the same across the board what we've got. Let's take a look at some of them using the hashtag 7SportsCave. Sparky says, I don't think a Suh deal gets done. He doesn't want to be here, plain and simple. Same Old Lion says, no, I'll take the cap space over Suh in 2015. Hashtag bye-bye Suh. Josh says, I think that you and the media and fans have to get used to the fact that Suh does not want to be here and will leave as a free agent. Jeremy says, let Suh walk and use that money on 2 or 3 other quality defensive players. And Zane says, at this point, he doesn't. It seems that he doesn't want to be here. Also, he's been more focused on his national image than local media-wise, and that's something we've seen showing up on NFL Network and things like that, guys.
Well, I've said that for a while. I think he's closer to the national scene than he is from a local scene, local members of the media. But he wasn't unlike some of the other guys. Jim Schwartz felt the same way, closer to the national media than he was the local media. I don't know if fans hold that against him or not.
Are these on clearance this time next year?
Yes.
Well, just real quick, why is everybody convinced that he doesn't want to be here? Because he hasn't done the deal yet?
Because
Even though he said he does want to be here, nobody believes him. And I'm not saying I believe him either. I'm just wondering.
I just think his body language and things like that, he just doesn't.
Body language, he acts the same all the time.
But the fact, and I know it's not that big of a deal that he wasn't here for the before the OTAs and all that stuff.
Come on, he's never done that. Vernon Davis wasn't. Ivory Johnson wasn't.
I understand that, but I just don't think he, as a leader of this team, allegedly, he shows the leadership qualities of somebody who really wants to be here and take this team where it wants to go. That's and a lot of it's perception.
Fair enough.
Yeah, okay, and a guy that's so worried about his image nationally, why wouldn't he be more worried about his image on the team and in the city he plays for? Showing up for that OTA would have done something for that.
Right, but he's
signing
never,
a contract would have done
OTAs.
that.
He's never shown up for the OTAs.
I understand, but someone that's
always performed well. I mean, he's been a really solid player every single year he's been here, and it's never been an issue before.
Right.
And now suddenly it's an issue. Nobody's saying a thing about Vernon Davis, captain San Francisco. Nobody said a thing about Andre Johnson, captain Houston Texans.
Well, people have ripped Andre Johnson.
Not like this. Not like this, because they give him because they don't feel like Houston has done enough to better their quarterback situation. They've got a new head coach in there, and because they feel like he has an unblemished record.
I just think Ndamukong Suh, he does not show enough that he wants to be a Detroit
I'm in agreement
Lion.
with you. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. That's all.
You're in agreement? You
I
understand?
am. I mean, I'm disappointed. Yeah, and I think a lot of people should be disappointed that there hasn't been more of a sense of urgency, at least than what we can gauge. And maybe they're not willing to share it with us. But anybody who says and claims they want to be here, anybody who said 2 years ago, you know this, he wants to be a leader of this team. How do I become a better leader? This is not showing that.
I couldn't agree more. Mike, thanks for sharing the tweets, and everyone out there, thank you for jumping on board, watching along, tweeting along with us. After the break, Matt, Mike, and I have our final thoughts on this Sunday afternoon. Stay tuned for those. We'll be right back. Thanks for spending your Sunday morning and afternoon with us here inside the cave. Wednesday at 7:30 right here on Channel 7, we're doing Lions Training Camp live down at Wayne State. Big live practice down there. Jim Caldwell, the whole team down there in action. Tom Lydon hosting all the action. Rob Rubik, Herman Moore, I'll be down there. Should be a fun night. Final thoughts, always an interesting topic. Tigers bullpen we're going to touch on. Also the Baseball Hall of Fame. Who's first up today, Matt?
I think I'll take it. I mean, I think fan bases have a tendency to do their best to live up to certain reputations. New York, it's never good enough. Philadelphia, they like to be tough guys. We here in Detroit, unfortunately, the same thing. We seem to take pride in the creed. The two toughest jobs in Detroit are the quarterback and the goalie. We've never had a good quarterback here, so when we get one, we don't recognize it. Matt Stafford. We had a goalie win cups, and people wanted to slight him because of the solid team that played in front of him. Chris Osgood, find me a goalie who's won a Stanley Cup with a bad team in front of him. But I'm going to go and add another job that is impossible to win over fans here. Closer. Joe Nathan needs to be better. Joe Nathan needs to be more consistent. And I've applauded the acquisition of Joakim Soria, but people act like Nathan is worthless. He's got 5 blown saves, 1 more than a guy like Craig Kimbrell. His whip is uncomfortable, but it's only slightly higher than Trevor Rosenthal in St. Louis. His strikeout per inning ratio isn't that of Sean Doolittle, but it's better than Houston Street and better than Jonathan Papelbon. 2 guys Tiger fans wanted to replace him. Nathan may not be the same pitcher he was in 2009 or even the pitcher he was a year ago. But I've talked to him, I've talked to players, and I've talked to coaches about how hard he has worked to get better. I know how badly he wants to impress Tiger fans, and I think booing him has affected him a little bit. I know I may be in the minority here, but I still think this team can win a World Series with Joe Nathan as the closer.
A lot of eyes on baseball today as the Hall of Fame gets going. Stoney?
Yep. It's going to be a big day in Cooperstown. Baseball, as you know, the Hall of Fame is today, and you have guys like Frank Thomas, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, and then you have the 3 managers, Bobby Cox, Tony La Russa, and Joe Torre going in the Hall of Fame. Now, Baseball Hall of Fame, they changed their rules as far as now you don't have to be on the ballot for 10 years instead of 15 years. Okay, that's good. Now, here's the deal. Alan Trammell is one of those guys who has been on the ballot for a long time. He gets grandfathered in. And to me, the Baseball Hall of Fame is something that it's the great of the great. If you have to think a lot whether the guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame, he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. And that brings me to Alan Trammell. Alan Trammell, great player. But if you have to go back and forth and look at statistics and all that, should Tram be in, should he not be in, then unfortunately to me, Alan Trammell's not a Hall of Famer. Now, I think he's a better player than Ozzie Smith, who ridiculously was a first ballot Hall of Famer. But to me, that becomes hypocritical, my criteria. My criteria is when you throw out the name, Mays, Aaron, Ruth, boom, Hall of Fame. Alan Trammell does not say Hall of Fame.
You're talking about all-time greats there, Stoney.
I know.
His numbers are as good as Barry Larkin's, for crying out loud.
Well, to me, he's not a no-brainer either.
Baseball season's brought Detroit some very great memories for nearly a decade here. Football season, not as much. But here we are with players reporting today in Allen Park, and within a few hours, the Lions will become the biggest story in town. And it will stay that way for at least 5 months in this city. And with Michigan State, high school football, the game stirs something that the rest of the world doesn't understand. That's fine. The World Cup is over, football season is here, and like you, I can't wait. I can't wait to predict the Lions' record's going to be 9-7, or if they steal one on the road, it'll be 10-6. No matter how many things go wrong or right with this team, we'll be back next year, and we'll crave it when it's over, just like we did last season. This year, that craving is nearly over. Football's back, and yeah, I couldn't have come soon enough. I'm fired up for training camp to be here.
It's going to be awesome.
One last thing as we go to break, or as we leave and end for the day. You can follow Matt on Twitter. Follow Stoney, Stoney16, Shep Matt, Brad Galli. This is Dean and the Dean sending us out with new Tigers anthem here, waiting on the next game. Longtime sports producer Titan Reg here on Twitter, going in for hip surgery tomorrow. Send him your tweets.
Love you, Reggie. Good luck, Reg.
We love you, bud. Best of luck.
Nice job in the cave, too, Reg.
Got great memories and the trophies to prove it.